All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. I am your host, Larissa Shmailo, for this special Valentine's Day reading. I facilitate the Writing Resilience workshop, and you will be hearing tonight the talented members of the Writing Resilience workshop. And so cuddle up with your loved one. If you don't have a loved one, we can be your Valentine. And
We're
consider
very cuddly.
we're very cuddly indeed.
Yeah.
All right, so I will warm up the mic
Good.
and read you some love poems. Personal. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what makes you fickle. I want to know what makes you stick. Tell me, which ion propels you, which soothsayer spells you, which folk singer trills you, which hardwood distills you, which downward dog twists you, which protest resists you, which neural net fires you, which siren desires you, which villanelle sings you, which jailbreaker springs you, which Uncle Sam wants you, which calculus daunts you, which lullaby lulls you, which confidence gulls you, which apple you'll bite from, which hither you'll welcome. What makes me forget the right answers, consult necromancers, allow the forbidden, ignore the guilt-ridden, unlearn all the learning, embrace this new burning, to know what makes you tick. Just letting somebody in here. Okay, this next one is called Bow. We will love like dogwood, kiss like cranes, die like moths. I promise. For 6 months with you, For 6 months with you, I would quit my lover, leave the city, sell my books. For 6 months with you, I would live in Kansas, join a car, shave my legs. For 6 months with you, I would be an actress, wait on tables, burn this poem. But what if it doesn't work out? If it doesn't work out, I'll join a convent. If it doesn't work out, I'll cut my hair. If it doesn't work out, I'll leave the country. If it doesn't work out, I still don't care. For 6 months with you, I would break the true law, break my poor heart, break my vow. Now ask me what I'd do for a year or two. And this one's called Death at Sea. The heart, someone wrote once, couldn't walk a straight line, couldn't pass the drunk test if it tried. Some men play the odds, their heads count cards, but their hearts play inside straights. They can't bluff ever, show their hand most times, and always give the pot away. Stephen died at sea, holding the dead man's hand, aces up. A poker-faced corpse surfaces on the water, I see. The orange safety bed, inflated around his neck, mocking God and me. Now, 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 now. Too late. I held his wake in Vegas, sat shiver in casinos, where there were no windows, no daytime, no peace. I put him in a casket, a greedy one-armed bandit. It still asks me for coins for its insatiable slot. I hate the beach, the Dead Sea beach, the sunblock snorkeled oily beach, the scuba lungs, the dead grass skirts, the blind bikinied sunglass beach. I hate the sea, the soulless sea, the sentient, malevolent, swampy sea. It don't care if you live, it won't cry if you die. It boasts like Yahweh, it spits in your eye. The sea, the stupid sea. But I love the albatross that took Stephen's soul, and I love the lighthouse and the shore, and I love all sailors, both sober and drunk, that won't kill a bird no matter what. And I love the salt and I love the stork, and I love Stephen beyond most doubt. And if I knew then what I know now, could I have walked on water and pulled him out? And the last one is my first hurricane. Like a dead leaf, lifted from the scorched summer earth, now wet and almost green, like a dead leaf carried by a thundercloud and brought to water by wind. I am here in the eye of the storm, dizzy, motionless, suspended in the humid air, waiting. Trees tremble. I breathe slowly. I have known tempest squalls and gentle rain. You are my first hurricane.
Mm.
All right. Next up, we have Donna Cartelli, who is a poet, collage artist, and wayward historian who now adds personal essayists to what she does. She's published both her poetry and collages and has a volume of poetry, Black Mayonnaise, and is looking forward to more. Donna, take it away.
First poem I just wrote, Courtly Love. A knight on a horse in a bed, heart of a horse, the horse's head, a head for numbers, a number too. Pleasure without measure, a night in a bed, sins of the heart of the matter, rusted parts, limbs clank and chatter, the parts of the night, the parts that reek, each night the bed, the night the head, the horse's head, both speak, they speak the dead.
Mm.
This is called Love Is, and it's two poems. Number one, a waitress with a sweet roll, rose petals flouncing across the river Styx, a means to cling to earth unsteady on its axis, letting go of minutes growing into hours, a dung beetle plying its Sisyphean task, whispers that tickle, I'll be back. Elephants men murder for ivory, the poem I write and may not publish, cobwebbed crevices of crown moldings, a high chest on trumpet legs, in a hovel where no one cares, an endless sonorous purr, out the window, a caterpillar gnawing on a leaf. And this is Love Is number 2. 1. Vincent Cartelli, 1931 to 2015. Julie Van Ness, 1930 to 2016. Jesse McKay, 1944 to 2016. 2. Why We're Here, interlocking links, soldered by choice, settling naturally within our groove, those scratched and chafed, no chinks. Surface bruises always tended to, no infections, no scars, no need for machinations, stories that don't add up, timelines with gaps. When we lie, we exhaust and expire. When we love, honestly, we flower, petals of the peony, full and lush, where love resides between soft and plushy, hard and narrow. This life a gift to give and reciprocate care. 3, excuse me. Uncomplicated. When I crack the shitty plaque built up over regions of compassion, humility, and reason, my heart a cheesecloth filters what's important from what's not, vouchsafes space for keepsakes kept under lock and key, not secreted beneath rock hard contamination. 4. Why death matters, why I cry, a flow that never dries, why memories don't sustain me always, fade and fragment. I didn't realize how close I needed to listen. No one told me to focus, capture snapshots crisp and three-dimensional, preserve them in acid-free sleeves of my hippocampus for easy access. Instead, they are entombed beneath dailiness, the inane, distractions, tidbits amounting to a landfill. Detritus inflames my soul, deforms my core like the pox, leaving me distorted and frustrated, chewing on clouds. 5. A life of sleeplessness, skating erratically over the well-worn ice of consciousness. I slip across minutes in a haze, in a blip. The sun descends in a blip. The moon trades in the fullness of time, provokes day-long marathons of waves of rage crashing against walls of the interior, wearing down my patience and yours. 6. Incomplete, with you in the ether, sunlight blinds, fog mirages, mist mistaken for tears. If I gathered all your DNA, expelled and shed, microscopic particles merging with mine in air, clinging to carpet fibers, cabinet handles, my fingertips like gold dust, I couldn't reconstitute you or what we had. For years I lamented missed moments, differences I longed to square. What I thought unresolved, we never needed to unravel and rebuild together. I know how it goes. Memories and time can bring perspective, shrink the tumor, tensions that split atoms. Instead, I focus on inconsequential matters, clenched your imperfections between my teeth, immortalized your mistakes, fueled by my pride, the thief of life love. 7. An inner world contained in a rubbery room, facade in caricature, smiling eyes and charm, endless jokes and compliments, lending hands left and right, the calling card of a psychopath. Not me, not I, though I collect trophies, the sameness of evidence, snippets of hair in labeled baggies, shirts not mine, now mine, folded at the bottom of a drawer. Coda. The weight of it all. Raindrops hit a puddle. Might as well be the sea. Dry out or disappear into a larger body. I catch drops between the tips of my thumb and forefinger, rub them together. My body gleams and radiates. I am the love I've absorbed, never lost, but reinvented. And that's it.
Thank you, Donna. Next up, we have Iris. Iris Gersh grew up in the Catskills and has lived in Boston, northern New Mexico, Albuquerque, southern Florida, and Greece, all locales rich sources for her writing. Her book of poems, A Thousand Questions, was published by Finishing Line Press during COVID and during the author's 70th year around the block. Take it away, Iris.
There's going to be a little mix here.
Iris?
Okay. That was on purpose. I'm sorry. It was very much on purpose. And you'll hear a little more. It's called Loveland. It was the fall of 1969. My two friends who also went to Boston University and I enjoyed finding parties and running around at night. We knew how to separate college classes from living in the big world. So this one night we found a bar, dark and warm in the red light district. A tall, handsome man named Alan strolled over to introduce himself. He was kind of polyester cool, and he sweet talked us all. certainly not overtly sexual or icky or perverted. We all liked him so much so that we climbed into a cab with him back to his house in Dorchester. He spun the vinyls. We took turns dancing with him in the living room or all danced together. It was fun and sexy and hard to leave. Doreen was seeing some guy, so begged off the next time we visited him. Linda and I knew that one of us would sleep with him, and she believed since I was the big virgin at age 19, I would be the one. Before he and I went into his bedroom, she gave me a quick sex talk and a tube of birth control foam. I immediately pressed out gobs of industrial strength foam. We laughed. It's not whipped cream. Don't eat it, precious, she said. Linda knocked at the door once during the night to check if everything lived up to her expectations. I only wanted to do it. He was gentle. I was excited and scared a little. The next morning, Linda cooked eggs, bacon, and toast for us. We all remained friends. I still am friends with Linda and Doreen. He played lots of soul music, and I found a love song from my first love. The song is Loveland, artist Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band. And I'm not sure if you got enough of that music. I feel like playing it and dancing some more, but it is from 1969, and the drummer was the lead vocalist. The next poem is Dorothy Parker, a poem from 1926. I just love her nature, cynical and honest. My own dear love, he is strong and bold, and he cares not what comes after. His words ring sweet as a chime of gold, and his eyes are lit with laughter. He is jubilant as a flag unfurled. Oh, a girl, she'd not forget him. My own dear love, he is all my world, and I wish I had never met him. My love, he's mad, and my love, he's fleet, and a wild young wood thing for him. The ways are fair to his roaming feet, and the skies are sunlit for him. As sharply sweet to my heart he seems as the fragrance of acacia. My own dear love, he is all my dreams, and I wish he were in Asia. My love runs by like a day in June, and he makes no friends of sorrows. He'll tread his galloping rigadoon in the pathway of the morrows. He'll live his days where the sunbeams start, nor could storm or wind uproot him. My own dear love, he is all my heart, and I wish somebody'd shoot him.
Wow.
And that is Dorothy Parker. And the other was a little story of losing my virginity, with, of course, including friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Next up, we have Nina Gluckselig. Nina Gluckselig is an expat writer who paints, creates jewelry, and plays music. She writes about her experiences of being the daughter of Holocaust survivors, navigating depression, making jewelry, and her other creative processes, her love of the sensuous, her beloved children, dog, and significant relationships. Take it away, Nina.
I love. What do I love? I love the sound of my children laughing. Everything is okay.
Muted.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Could you
I
start
thought
over
I
again?
clicked. Okay. What do I love? I love the sound of my children laughing. Everything is okay when your children are laughing. I love drinking cold water with ice. I love dark roast coffee with half and half. I love the mint and lime taste of a mojito. I love sitting in front of the TV watching Law and Order SVU and eating my garlicky pasta. It's just linguine, sauteed garlic, salt and pepper, fresh Parmesan. What could be better than cream cheese and lox on a bagel with purple onion? I love dark chocolate. Always, always, anytime, anywhere. I love my large jade plant and the cactus that almost reaches the ceiling. They keep me company as I sit in my red leather chair journaling in my sunroom. I love the sound of my dog Julius's tail thumping on the floor, happy to see me. He runs with everything in him, chasing a toy. My profound connection to him helps heal my hurt places. There is no end to his experience of joy. His joy is like the banjo that Steve Martin says you can never play sad music on. I can't be sad around Julius. I love that Nancy and I built IKEA furniture together. Well, that she built it and I watched. I love that she and her son Noah came over for Chinese food in their pajamas, Noah wearing his mother's pink robe, and we watched TV in my bedroom until we, one by one, fell asleep. I love that when I give her a gift, she makes a big fuss. I love that I helped her clean out her dirty car filled with the detritus of her unstable life, and that she decorated the tables for the luncheon at Gabriel's bar mitzvah. I love that I was able to take my sons to Vienna, Rome, Florence, and Venice. I love that Gabriel didn't quite grasp that Venice was all on water, connected by bridges, without cars, even though he had read about it. I love that boats are the buses of the city, and I love the cracked pastel paint of the houses and churches, and the clothing on lines outside the apartments. To me, it seems you cannot take a bad picture in Venice. I love the way Max believes in people and that they can redeem themselves. I love that he cares so much about being fair. It is what makes him a good lawyer, his profound care for others. His mind is analytical, he has a great memory and awesome writing skills. When he was 3, he would drive me to speechlessness with his ability to argue. I knew then he would be a lawyer. And even though I know my problems have been hard on him without saying so, he always tells me I will get better when I am hopeless, and he has been right. He tells me that my issues have made him more sensitive to others, and he is always relieved to know I'm getting help. Above all, he does not think I'm beyond redemption. He doesn't believe his clients are either. I love Gabriel's hands. The day he graduated from high school, I wanted to be sure to see him first, not his father or brother. Waiting for him by the exit, I saw him coming in his red satiny robe, and he took me by the hand, and we walked out together, a victory march. There was no question that he would take my hand in his. Despite what he went through at age 8 with a clinically depressed mother, he found a way to forgive me. I love Gabriel's large, dry, blistered hands that cook, flip pasta in a pan, his hands that chop vegetables so fast, his hands that are able to solve a Rubik's Cube in 10 seconds, his hands that play the drums. Gabriel's hand. That he was brave enough to visit me at the hospital and tell me that everything was going to be okay. He held my hands in his. I love that my father took me to the carousel in Central Park. I could hear the honky-tonk music from half a mile away. I loved riding on the black horse that went up and down, and I remember the way the frayed leather belt felt as my father buckled it around me. I love that my father's memory is a blessing to me. He was so creative, profoundly empathic, drawing all kinds of people to him. I love that he took me to Leonard Bernstein's Young People's concerts at Philharmonic Hall, and how we sat in red velvet seats way up high. I love that he loved music and art and took me to the Museum of Modern Art, the Met, the Cloisters, and Fort Tryon Park. I love that he made me boursin sandwiches on a roll for lunch during high school when my mother couldn't get out of bed. I love that he loved my mother unconditionally and taught me about devotion. He wanted to repair her broken places, and he was one of the few people who could make her laugh. I love to hear my mother laugh. I had a complicated relationship with my mother. She would say I need something, and that meant she wanted a hug. I could feel her bones against me. I love that she always cooked delicious dinners of flank steak, lamb chops, chicken soup, her special meatloaf with hard-boiled eggs in the center. I love that she embroidered a peasant blouse for me in the Hungarian style. I love that we went out for coffee one day and she dressed up, her shoes and bag matching exactly in color. I love that I was able to crawl into bed with her before she died. I love my friends who support and encourage me. I love my friend who told me that I still had my good name when I thought I was nobody. I love that I love so many things: people, animals, food, big cities, the sound of laughter, my sons, my parents, friends, my dog and cats, plants. I love books, clothing, jewelry, bags, shoes, scarves, Italian Majolica pottery, pens, leather journals, all kinds of music, painting with pastels, listening to and playing music, the ocean, a compelling, a compelling movie, a good night's sleep. I love that I can still love these things even in my darkest moments, and that when I come out of the rot of depression, I can appreciate the full beauty of what is simple and good and healthy, and be aware of what matters the most. I love that there's so much of life to love, despite everything, or maybe even because of everything. I love that I'm learning to love myself unconditionally.
All right. Thank you, Nina. Next up, we have Martha Jackson Kaplan, who is an award-winning poet whose book Wind Eyes is forthcoming from Mad Hat Press in autumn 2024. She lives in Madison, Wisconsin, and has been widely published. More can be found at marthakaplanpoet.com. Take it away, Martha.
Thank you. Valentine, it must have been love from the start. It was a screaming household. I had been warned. First, a steak was slapped down to sizzle. A pot of greasy water lingered on another burner. Cooked, the steak was slid onto a plate set before the son. He cut it to share with me. No, 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 screamed the mother. It's for Lenny, it's not for you. Lenny continued to share. I began to eat. She can have a hot dog, the mother screamed. Lou had the hot dog. She can have one of those. The basset curled onto his leash. The mother hovered. I kept eating steak. The trick was to ignore the insanity. We'd come from Cape May. It was a hot July. The dog had made his point. He laid a giant poop on the back seat. No AC in the old Volkswagen. Welcome to Philadelphia. We went on to the brother's house. More screaming. The sister-in-law. The dogs got loose. The basset was blamed. The guest bathroom was an assault in red velvet and gold. We ate dinner. We ate breakfast. We ate brunch. We ate lunch. Then, oh Lord, we ate cheesesteaks. Off to the airport. See you in December. In Chicago. Not, please God, Philadelphia. I married him anyway. And on another note, now that I am in New Mexico, far away, wind, inrushing of sound as ocean waves, Pueblo pink, Pueblo tan, stone split to crystalline, honeysuckle vine heaved to the edge and hung, cactus udders prickle sharp to touch, Russian olive air blue to the horizon. Somewhere you are moving in our frantic life, and glue of you and me binds us to objects, books, paper, pictures, stuff us, fat as jagged as the news, all scales a slant wreck of sweep. Brave as gravity adheres to time, matter will do as it will. But dear, let's wild our lives again. So it's a different note. And then I want to read, this is a love note to poetry itself. It's a cento, and these lines are all taken from others. Jack Gilbert, John Wieners, Marianne Moore, Ann Carson, Jay Hopler, Phil Levine, William Carlos Williams, Louise Gluck, Ada Limon, Camus, Adelida Lopez Mija, Charles Olson, Shakespeare, Charles Baudelaire, Dylan Thomas. So anybody ever wants it, I have a more precise listing of what came from what, but this is, so my love song to poetry, Cento for the Mutilated World. We are all burning in time, but each is consumed in the bounds of white and heartless fields, dots of cyclamen red and maroon. This morning, with a blue flame burning, my nerves open to air like something skinned, and the sky with the steadfast blue. Lizards grassed, the grass was lizarding. I am trying to praise the mutilated world, the perfection of all her fruits and vegetables, and the gentle light that strays and vanishes with the wind, over and over. But the bomb has entered our lives to destroy us. There is a hole in the garden. It is empty. I envy it. And the soul creeps out of the tree. This is the barrenness. What if we stood up with our synapses and flesh and said no? If we stopped being terrified? For we know terror is where the only alternative is to kill or be killed, where understanding among us becomes impossible. Leave us alone to love one another completely naked. Nakedness is what one means. We have a flame within us, burning with a bright glow of electricity. Star points of light flicker into something wild and strange, like prolonged echoes mingling with the distance down the rivers of the windfall light. In the end, everything is bare. We are ruined choirs. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Next up, we have Sandra Clevin, who is the publisher at Cirque Press. Her writing has been published in various journals, and she now leads the Chugach Writers Group, promoting writers from Alaska's village communities. Take it away, Sandy.
Thank you. The poems I selected from Defiance Street start a bit naughty and move toward cute and sweet. Beginning with BJ. You know, it's skin that fails first, oozing down a cheek like candle wax, scrimmed like etchings on a birch trunk. Then muscle sighs, gives up the load. You watch TV surgeons pin it to the bone before they tighten sagging jowls. They say those who blow horn stay firm and fabulous. Hey, buddy, whip out that piccolo. Sloppy seconds. It's going downhill from there. The bread dough slipped from my hands to the floor. I said, still frozen. I'll wash it off. It'll be fine. He said, I know you will. I remember what you did with the zucchini. The zucchini? You said, there's no reason to waste it. It's still good. You made zucchini bread. I remember, I said, let's make sure we never tell the kids. I knew this group would get it. You know, I could read it some places I shouldn't read it. I mean, then here we go. Toward sweet. A roofer's nails. I would just mention my husband Richard passed away in 2021. So I was speaking to him before his passing about this. Love, it is our baby boy. Up on the roof because he fired the roofers. You know, some days he regrets it. That boy. Remember how his beauty astonished us? Beyond words, that cream cheek, that shock of wheat, his eyes sea green yet seeing. Wasn't he something showing up like that, stilling our struggle, stopping our breath? How did we birth such children? We must be gods, I swear. We have saved the world with our high climbing children who fire the roofers and carry on alone. Then about my hair, when Wisdom Blonde, when she was 61 and young, she colored her hair a cranberry red, not seen in natural hues. Ruby fire made her dance, so she colored her roots for the next 6 years, flamboyant in her favor. Dishwater blonde is the taunting name for the shade she hid with dye. A mousy dun, both drab and drear, fit for a girl who's going nowhere. Red was more of a match. Down in the root, her color changed. She almost did not notice. But curious, she let it grow. It came out pretty, silken fine, more blonde than white, she swears. As good as red, as bright. Some gift of time, bizarre, embraced. It's great, she pranes. I never color. What perplexes a girl with hair so swell is the number that came with it. How in the world, she demands to the mirror, did I get to be 67? Which is not the age I am today. And then I'll close with one that must be read, the poem that must be read. For Richard, who knows everything. One day, you'll look at me and think, she's getting old, but you won't say it. You'll see lines around a grin that frowns, eyes lost in fleshy veils, crept throat, long chin, but you'll say, you are beautiful, and I'll believe you. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandy. Next up, we have Elizabeth Morse, whose poetry and fiction has been published in various literary magazines, such as Gnosko, The Raven's Perch, Scoundrel Time, and Sensitive Skin. Her poetry chapbook, The Color Between the Hours, was just published by Finishing Line Press. Take it away, Elizabeth. Unmute.
Okay, sorry about that. The Chelsea Hotel. Diana realized that she'd had a one-night stand with Ben at the Chelsea Hotel 25 years ago. When the realization hit, Ben and Diana were at a restaurant eating enchiladas, comfortably ensconced in a booth. I lived at the Chelsea, he said. Why on earth did you move there? Most of the tenants are artists, she replied. As it was, they both worked in technology. Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, and Janis Joplin lived there, he explained. I found a sublet. Once he said he lived there, she knew. Diana had seen the graduation photo on the wall. It had to be Ben with brown hair and a mustache. Now he was clean shaven and his dark hair had gone gray. Back in the day, she was on her way to a painting class. In the elevator going up, she noticed a man wearing a beige trench coat. His attire was a bit corporate for the Chelsea, but he turned around and smiled. They said a few words. Before she got out, he gave her his apartment number and asked her to stop by after class. The building had a red exterior punctuated by iron balconies. The artworks in the lobby were intriguing, including one by Ariel Sinker, the woman whose class Diana was taking. There were enormous abstract works in brilliant colors, clever figures on canvas outlined in black, imposing sculptures in assorted shapes. Ariel had told Diana she donated the work in lieu of rent. Ben and Diana had Chablis and cheddar cheese. He told her he'd been a jock in high school and that he had a master's in computer science. Having no use for athletes, she would have preferred a painter or sculptor, but he was good-looking and laughed easily. After he teased off their clothes, they floated into the bedroom, moving easily together. The sex was lovely and irresponsible. Her diaphragm was at home, and he didn't use a condom. The young woman Diana was, with her permed auburn hair and contact lenses, was distinct, from who she was now. Back then, she'd been marginally employed as a proofreader, drinking too much and smoking opium. She was desperate for connection, but afraid of shadows. Ultimately, AA brought some relief. At the Chelsea, Ben had seemed so different from Diana with his advanced degree in technology and his job at a bank. Not someone she wanted to be with, at least not long term. Better an artist. Eventually, she found first one and then another, her two husbands. The first painted hard-edged abstracts, the second painted cartoony figures. Both had modest but solid reputations. Loss of job and a near eviction motivated Diana to get a technology certificate at NYU. She'd given up her dream of painting. Sobriety cleared her head, and she found herself to be adept at coding. From time to time, she remembered Ben, but never ran into him at any of the technology jobs she had in New York City. She didn't know that he had traveled up and down the Eastern Seaboard for work and would only meet her 25 years later on a dating site. Diana's first artist husband had heard of her second in a New York Post review and reacted with resentment. She had not met that second husband yet. Both men would have envied any artist who lived at the Chelsea and probably would not have paid their rent either. When she finally met her second husband, she remembered the review and it seemed fated, even though the marriage did not ultimately work out. So it could be with this. When Diana left Ben's apartment at the Chelsea, the next morning it was as if a voice whispered, "Not yet." In the restaurant now, Diana looked Ben straight in the eye. His clean-shaven face had a few wrinkles. "I met you at the Chelsea back in the day," she offered. "Spent the night at your place." "No," his eyes lit up. "You lived on the 7th floor." "I did." "I could tell it was you from your photo. The hair, the mustache. That's what you looked like." "Remember how the refrigerator was near the window?" For a moment, Diana had a vision of an older refrigerator that curved slightly at the top, humming gently. It was next to a window filled with the twilight sky and lights from across the street. "I remember." "So it was meant to be," he said, grabbing her hand across the tablecloth. Did the young woman she was then have a wisdom that had since been lost? She had run out the next morning without leaving a number, down the staircase at the Chelsea with its Byzantine banisters. Did she have a lapse in judgment? After all, she was pretty messed up and not even sober yet. She thought of how compatible they were after meeting on the dating site, and how lucky. Working in the same field, being in AA, sharing political views and talking until all hours were such joys, as was running together in a park full of greenery. She had no problem with athletes now. Still, she had to wonder. She thought of how he disliked her furniture and told her to change it so that it would be more like his. Blue couch, white chairs, tree stump coffee table. He also complained about her tortoiseshell framed glasses. She clasped his hand across the table, wanting to hope, but she couldn't stop thinking of letting it all go, just as she had when she'd taken off down the stairs at the Chelsea.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next up, we have Susan Orringel, who is a poet, writer, teacher, and psychologist from Albany, New York, whose full-length book of poems, Carnival, was released by David Robert Books in November 2023. She was a first-time bride during the pandemic at age 69. Take it away, Susan. Unmute.
That's it? And then people will see me?
And they see you.
Okay, okay. Hello, everybody. My first poem is a love poem I realized to my adolescent self called What Writes. Each night they grew like bread rising, one yeast cell at a time, until one morning I turned and felt their swollen weight, new twins. Nothing would ever be the same. Not walking, not catching. I'm sorry, not walking, not catching, not hugging. Now they would always intrude between me and the world, give off my secrets. And they had to be housed in a harness whose straps stuck out of everything. No more freedom in undershirts. They had to be hidden, hoarded, prize fruit wrapped in tissue paper, like the frilly white communion dress saved and handed down. But what rights would honor such a blooming? The first time a boy touched me, I felt galvanic, blood drunk, his warm palm cupping cool flesh, tentative at first, then rubbing harder. Felt afraid of that current of hot and cold. His hand drew out like a dowser from rumbling underground springs. So many hearts. Another fog-bound day in down east Maine, so we linger in bed, tussling, loving, only to crawl out midday, wander by the rocks. I look for beach glass and heart rocks, stones curved by the current's endless caress. Mark searches for skipping stones and flips the ones he finds over the water. Someone has placed large glass shards on a flat rock, milky white, frosted clear, and the amber and green of beer bottles. Show me how to skip, I say, and he wedges a flat oval stone between his fingers, flicks his wrist. The rock skips 5 times over the gray-green tide. Triumphant, he's rewarded with my kiss. All this gravely surveyed by the wide, white eyes of pink bindweed, a vine whose leaves are also hearts. And look, so many heart-shaped stones I find, combing the rocky beach with my fingers, so many polished pieces of water-worn glass. Early marriage. He leaves large tumblers of red diet drink all through the house. Some stain the white patches of a Persian carpet. Tumblers belong in the kitchen. He is thinking of opening strategies for chess, perhaps the Nimzo Indian or Stonewall defense, or maybe he is hearing the sprightly John Dowling dance they used for their wedding. Budded with cataracts, his bright blue eyes don't see the trail of bagel crumbs winding from kitchen to bedroom. Bedrooms are not for eating. We could have bugs. We did have bugs, an infestation of fleas for months. And one night I said, I can't take this. The poisons, the laundering, the vacuuming, the spraying. Will we ever get through this? He said, yes, yes, we will. Quietly, firmly. And he held me and softly stroked my hair. And the last one, the just right spot for March 2018. I need to say, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer, and I had my bladder removed and a new one put in that didn't quite work. So this is about that. The just right spot for March 2018. When I was 9, I was scared all the time. Sunny days weren't bright, they glared ferociously, and nights were scary too, with tiger paws rapping at the bedroom window. I didn't know my parents were having troubles even when they took me to their marriage counselor, whose cool eyes bored through round wire rims. They even took me to a therapist with a dollhouse. But smarty me figured she could get into my head if I played with it, so I didn't. Nights, the terrors, would rise like suffocating steam. I wanted to wake my parents, nestle into bed with them. But what if they got angry? So I dragged my pillow and cover and slept on the little chenille rug on my mom's side of the bed, sneaking back to my own room when the sun came up. I could never ask. And I tell you all this because I remembered last week when I had to wake you up to put the catheter into me, our relationship's new twice daily ritual. You roused slowly, but in a kindly way, and your blue eyes smiled through your wire rims, and your head cocked to find the just right spot. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Bravo. Next up, we have Claire Donahue Roof, who is a poet, memoirist, and English professor and mother of 3 grown children. She has published poetry in creative journals, including the Aeolian Harp, Volume 9, Puren's Fountain, and the Mocking Heart Review, and has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize, along with other artists. Please take it away, Claire.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Wait 1 second, Claire. 1 sec. Larissa, could you let Phoebe in? Please. Sorry, my dear.
It's okay. Did you hear that, Larissa?
Got her.
She's coming in.
Okay, so the first poem is called Valentine's Day. Wild pink roses on the backyard wire fence, away from an angry neighbor man. The red tulips arrive in the black dirt of April. We 5 children play in my mother's hidden garden where apricot trees bloom popcorn white. We go off to school in February's wicked thaw from snow and ice. Childhood Valentines fall onto our desk at Studebaker School. Once a year, children write their classmates' names on Kmart Valentine cards. There is a flurry of desires and secret crushes in classrooms of the 1960s. What will become of us, we children of the Midwest decline? My mother cuts red construction paper into perfectly symmetrical hearts. She puts them on our windows to remind us all of love's magical moments. Love circles the house on Dayton Street as lean, mean stray dogs growl in the streets. Northern Indiana, Rusttown lives on the cheap, but there is always warm bread in our house. Shoes that fit on our feet, clean pressed sheets on our beds. My mother makes miracles like this. There will be sour red cherries on the simple brown tree that we can see from the dining room. Yet, we must wait for the backyard garden to wake up from February's dreariness. We children wait for robins and crocuses to tell us the world has come alive. Our father becomes invisible, but February still looks for love. One by one, we 5 children turn into teenagers where we fall in and out of love. Valentines are more select and secret. Dances, football games, debate meetings, and music lessons all bloom now. I look back to days of desperate desires, wondering about that first French kiss. There are hearts broken, mended, sometimes broken and mended again and again. My mother taught us how to sew back the red pieces of our hearts. I send the grandchildren laced white and red, glittering reminders of love. Valentine hearts float above the darknesses that tend to many souls. Valentine wishes are written even as danger demands the time of our days. Hold fast to February's holiday when the crystal icicles form on cold houses. Live in that moment of love's slight chance and tend to the hearts that beat so briefly that day. I'm just going to read one more, and this was the one that got that we wrote for the writers group, and it was the pushcart nomination called my ambit. Oh, I'm going to be nervous. My ambitions are to balance the world as it is with the body I have. I want to be a rush of adrenaline, a streak of dark pink azaleas, a fireball in the midnight sky, to go back to Italy and see the flock of birds fly into the blue skies of Assisi. I want to end wars of men with their ridiculously destructive weapons. I want to bring the Alaska snow crabs back in flush numbers. I want to straighten my kneecaps and walk unabashedly towards God. There are places I want to reassemble back to where children can walk home after school without fear. I want harmony in my skin. I want to memorize for weddings, baby births, and funerals, to pray in other languages. I want to let my soul pick out my next career. There are sequoias, ginkgos, redwoods, and weeping willow trees I would like to meet, many flowers and poems I aspire to become. There's jewelry I wish to wear and then give to my daughters when I am gone, to see my children, celebrate every birth pain that brought them into the world, a broken world. I aspire to have joy, broken and human but undeniable, to be that lyric people memorize, to pass down the good and not the trauma, even if I have already passed down that trauma. Let me have second and third chances to talk to angels again, but live on the earth, blue and green as it can be, to talk about death and childhood. I want to hold your hand. Yeah, just like the song. I want to hold your hand.
Thank you, Claire. Next up, we have Audrey Roth, who is the author of Arms Akimbo, A Journey of Healing, a child sexual abuse memoir. She uses her writing to build strength and resilience both her own and her readers. She is currently working on a prose memoir of her healing, a chapbook of baseball poems, and a collection of spiritual poems. Go ahead, Audrey.
Okay. This is called Happy Valentine's Day to Me. You've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, and latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mrs. In Between. Flooded as I have been over the last 6 decades with racking memories of traumas, false beliefs of unworthiness, blame, shame, stupidity, evil, the whale of grief swallowing me whole. No love of self, just abhorrence, disgust, disgrace, disdain. The light in my eyes, I lost my place. The light in my eyes reserved for love of others, family, friends, even worthy foes. The only relief permitted praise is I'm funny. I make people laugh. I'm done. Good and done. Now, looking in the mirror, I see the light of God in my eyes, allowing me, beseeching me, directing me to accentuate the positive to myself, to you, to the world. I loved the story about my breaking out of my playpen when I was 18 months old, and how my parents saw me toddling toward them, and my daddy put the broken part of the playpen against the wall and put me back in, and I moved to another side and grabbed onto a slat and twisted and broke it, and they laughed, and they could never pen me in after that. I loved that. I loved when I was 7 years old and my daddy took me to the circus on a school night, just me, no one else. And we saw the elephants before it started. And my daddy bought me a bag of peanuts to feed them. He said, throw them the peanut as hard as you can. And I did in a perfect arc. So it landed right under the elephant's trunk. And my daddy laughed and picked me up and hugged me. I was so proud and happy. And we laughed and hugged, and people around us cheered. I got a circus light on a lanyard and twirled it with all the other kids all night. I still have it. and we stuffed ourselves with junk food. And the trapeze artists soared above us, and we had the best time ever. And I fell asleep in the car, and my daddy carried me to bed. And in the morning, he was telling my mommy about how I threw that peanut, and he was so proud of me. Love that. I loved when I was 3, and my mommy took us into Manhattan to see Leonard Bernstein's Young People's Concert, and I felt the music coursing through my veins along with my life's blood. It was my life's blood. I sat next to my mommy, and we swayed back and forth while the violin's bows moved as one, and the oboist played so beautifully, and his face turned so red it almost exploded. That. I loved listening to my mommy sing and harmonizing with her all the time in Silent Night and Tumbalalaika and so many other songs, and being the only one of her kids who could sing on key, and how she smiled at me with poignance in her eyes, remembering singing with her mama. I love that. I loved it when my daughter sang Silent Night with me after my mom died, because she knew I was missing my mom. And she knew I needed to sing it again to keep the memory and the music alive in my heart. And we sang it perfectly, and we both cried. I love that. I loved when I went to baseball games with my hero, my grandpa, who gave me sips of his beer and taught me about loyalty and cheering for your team no matter what, and who showed me I was lovable. I love that. I loved being dared by the boys when I was 10 years old to throw the ball over the school building if I wanted to be on their baseball team, and taking that stupid old ball and hurling it in a perfect arc like the peanut at the circus over the roof to the next street, where it bounced and bounced until one of the boys could retrieve it, and them calling me Babe Roth. I love that. I loved when I was 11 and I took the test for Hunter College High School, and I got in, and my dad told me he knew I would. And my mom was shocked because she said she never thought I'd get in. And I realized that my dad was the one who knew I was smart, even though when he was drunk, he said I was stupid. I love that. I loved when I was in 7th grade and the parents were visiting, but not mine because they both worked. And in English class, Mrs. Mastriani asked a question about one of the stories in the Illustrated Man, and I answered it, and she froze, then said, "Audrey Roth, you're brilliant." And I turned about as red as that oboist at the Philharmonic. And all the parents looked at me like I must be really smart, because this was the school for smart girls. I love that. I loved it when I was 11 and traveling to Hunter on a packed subway and felt a man's hand on my butt and reached for it and grabbed it and pulled it over my head and asking, "Does this belong to anyone?" And watching him scurry off the train like the sniveling rat he was. I loved that. I loved that I had a teacher at Hunter who cared about me and saw I was hurting and called my mom to say I needed help. And could my mom get me into therapy? And my mom helped me. And I started down my therapy journey and didn't give up, even though I had some bad therapists, and kept pushing and pushing myself to be better and not be so afraid and overcome my anxiety and try to believe I wasn't a waste of humanity. And I stayed brave and intrepid no matter what. I loved that. I loved going to softball camp for girls and women when I was 25 and playing for 8 hours a day and being so sore I couldn't turn over in bed, and hanging out with the counselors who were all women softball stars after the girls went to bed, and loving being a lesbian and a woman and finding muscles I hadn't even known existed in my body, and feeling happy and toasting my grandpa with a beer every night. I love that. I love that my parents picked me up at the airport after softball camp and drove me home, and my dad came into the apartment building with me so I could see if my LSAT score had arrived while I was away. And he was so respectful and stood to the side while I got the mail, and the envelope was there, and I took a deep breath and opened it and screamed in joy, and I picked him up and whirled him around the lobby, and he was so proud of me, and we were both crying. Love that. I love that I went to Columbia Law School and got good jobs and was smart and made partner in a big law firm and became head of the venture capital practice group. And even though I struggled, I kept going until I decided I didn't want to anymore. I love that. I loved that I had the courage and belief in myself just enough to have a child to grow inside me and know the grace of God in helping her thrive, to sing to her, to tell her she was safe and love her even before she was born, to cradle her inside and keep one hand on my ever enlarging belly to caress her before I could see or hold her, and how the doctor held her up to me after he cut her out of my uterus and said after he cut her out of my uterus and she was a miraculous, perfect dark ball. I loved that. I love that I have made it through the pain and the false beliefs, and I know I am smart and kind and generous and a brilliant, prolific writer who deserves to be loved and can survive, stay alive, and thrive. I love that.
Thank you, Audrey. Next up, we have Cynthia Lee Steele, Associate Editor for Cirque, a literary journal for the Pacific Rim. Cynthia Lee Steele, who lives in Alaska, is completing a forthcoming memoir, 30 Before 13, about the many moves in her life. Her new work appears in the anthology on domestic abuse, When Home Is Not Safe, and in the Writing Resilience anthology. Take it away, Cynthia.
Thank you. Let me plug in really quick. I'm losing my power. Okay. I've got the power. All right. You know, I was thinking about this this little thing I used to sing all the time. I love little baby snakes, kisses in the rain, and I love you. No idea why I'm saying that. Okay. Just because I do. All right, so this is falling in love. I fell in love at Brigadoon, theater and imagination, a stage, now a rolling field. A drink reveals a buffoon. I fell in love with Buscaglia, a single rose, his garden, a single friend, his world. Single until the ground closed upon his single world. I fell in love with Andrew Lloyd Webber. What he wrote, I'll love forever. I'll declare to God and man, I don't know how to love him. I fell in love with Rhett Butler, who held for Scarlett who felt for Scarlett a feeling more beautiful, more pure, more sacred. Dare I name it? Ah, it is love. I fell in love with Chad, a boy from class, who brought photos of planes and ships, and who stole flowers from planters to give me on the city bus to school. I fell in love with places we lived, touched their walls to make vivid, knew we'd find another, but never lose the feel of it. I fell in love with puppies, 7 currently, of all ages, the woofing, sassy sages, looking deep into their eyes. I've never fallen for cats, you know, except one odd-eyed rainbow. She moved swift, rubbed against, but for a second, then gone again. That's one. All right, how to fall in love with the white raven. I have been falling in love with the white raven. Here in Anchorage, we have one. First, fall for one in 30,000 pale blue-eyed ravens. She's no seagull, she's kind, even to snappy birds. She trekked across Homer, as we all do, flew on to Anchorage, shore to city, for more dumpster pizza and fries. She will likely leave soon, out of our league. She'll fly on to the Chugach Range, away from golden arches. Big city life fattens, but it's not wild or free. See her in dreams, photos, images everywhere. Praise shinier blue-black raven groups who let her join, be their anomaly, be their pale blue-eyed friend, in legend who turns black, melanin flowing down calamus, filling her after feather, her vein. We wait, knowing this one will not change. She'll just become schmutzy, pulling out roadhouse trash, finding warmth at zero wherever heat emits, huddling chimneys and restaurant pipes in thin, spindly tail feathers. She's not as suited for life, so letting love pair with concern, we mothers with a frail baby, all 25K of us, arise daily to check on her, see if she's breathing. Stark puffs of frigid air emit at 10 degrees, anticipating her liveliness. Even people countries away log on to White Raven spotting via this group. People who would not mix, but do bond via pictures, artistic renderings, posted religiously. Lucky ones click cameras, long lenses pointed high, a new source of income, hopeful art in the sky. She sparks want in the world. We walk together in a hush. There she is. Shh, you look. Or lay low, prop snow shoulders. Try to see her world view. Forget minus temps, face red with frost's bite in parkas or jackets, shivering for hours, forgetting bosses, work, take lunches without eating, practice self-forgetting with iPhones or cool pics. Feel whispered joys. She's here. Joys that won't fade away. These moments lengthen. She flies, wings stretched out wide into the distant sun. We stand staring mutely numb, not knowing if or when other worshipers will experience. White ravens, gurgling croak, curious, head tipped side to side, her visage lost in snow, revel in her survival. We know that we don't know the gender. We just know that it's a girl. Is my time up?
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Last but not least, we have Andrea Nicki, who is a published poet and professor of philosophy from Canada, who has 3 poetry books published and is working on a multidisciplinary book of essays and poetry under contract with Rowman and Littlefield Publishers. She teaches business ethics at colleges in Vancouver and facilitates local and online poetry workshops on integrating ethical values in writing. Take it away, Andrea. Andrea? All right. Andrea? Unmute, please.
Do you see her?
It says she's here.
Maybe she went to get a glass of water or something and doesn't realize she's up.
There she is.
Andrea, unmute, please. All right. I guess that is it for us tonight. If no one has told you that they love you, we love you. And we will now all unmute and tell you that.
Sorry. Oh, Larissa, sorry, I missed my chance here.
There we go. Okay, Andrea, good.
Hey.
Sorry,
Go
everyone.
ahead.
I was having trouble finding my document. Hang on a second. I'm just having trouble here. Oh yeah, but I don't want to miss my little time. Yeah, I'm just having trouble opening it. Let me see. Oh, yeah, hang on a second. Let's see here.
It's a day of glitchy computers.
Oh, I know. It's just, yeah, I just, this computer, I've been having a lot of problems with it. The keyboard, it keeps getting jammed. Okay. Oh, here it is. I found it, but let's just see. Oh yeah, here we go. I got it. Okay, so I'm gonna be reading a few poems. Ooh, it says a very long series, but I'm just reading a few from this series. It's called Spilt Milk series. This is the first poem. Dinner date. A medical geneticist with a vintage aesthetic. He likes to wear bright colors, blue, red, and yellow. He loves old things, classical musicals, watercolor painting, and piano playing. I wonder if he did a watercolor of me this morning with my pink pillbox hat, which he called last night, unique. His uniqueness and preferences set against a vast backdrop of knowledge and genetic randomness of symbols, double helixes, maps, DNA sequence data, ATCG colors. He says he talks at a snail's pace while I talk fast and he can't keep up. He worries about what I think of his speaking style. I tell him it just seems like he's turning in his shell to get a book from his library and being careful to get the right one. Speech differences are natural, even perhaps partially genetic, I ask, but I sense he has a lot of background music, arrangements, sequences and flows, harmony and balance, as if a record player is always on. It is true, compared to him, I am sometimes like the central player of a musical, dancing and singing, playing at tragicomedy, with a history of drama, in family work and romantic relationships, of hyperbolic clashes, guillotines, or intense new flames. In conversation, I can be like a galloping horse, clearing obstacles, daring others to keep up, sometimes egging them on, risking a crash or becoming exhausted. He is right, a slower trot can be more pleasant, or slow turns on a carousel, lighthearted play. I can work long hours preparing lectures, writing or editing, rejecting social breaks, locking my own snail door. And its energy does not seem less, but more contained and controlled. Jogging every day for 30 minutes up a mountain at 8 a.m. Going every day to the gym. Like him, I prefer meeting one person at a time in my snail home. Have emotional space for only a few close friends. Would be overwhelmed by a crowd against my minuscule door and trying to keep track of the order of a lengthy line and who deserves my attention next. In fact, we had met at a party when we were having trouble relating to others, and were delighted to discover so many shared interests and ideas. We stayed rooted in one place and talked for the rest of the night, cracking each other open like two walnuts. Zodiac twins with the exact same birthday. In the past, I didn't enjoy conversing with other philosophy professors. These conversations could be too competitive and tiring as we sought to match or surpass each other on a verbal racetrack. Even in dance class, I can overexert myself, once jumping too much and causing a heel injury. Why do I require myself to have a lively show? In actual fact, morning is a difficult time for me, with some gloom and dread, no Jack in the Box. At the musical production we attended last night, he pointed out the background pianist. He was waving his hands, helping to direct the singing in front. My friend is like this charming player, helping me place my lines and steps. Next poem, Spilt Milk. I've become interested in a geneticist, Alan, and we've been dining together for the last three weeks. I listened to his online talk on the science and business of milk. It's fascinating and brilliant, but he checks my enthusiasm on the phone afterwards. Later, we talk more over lunch. He explains that a relationship between us would complicate our friendship. Wasn't his talk complicated? He says he needs to be alone. Recently ended a relationship that became negative when his girlfriend moved into a small bachelor unit. Alan worries we'll fall in love and live together soon after. He wants an apartment with 150 square feet more than his current one, all to himself. Don't cry over spilt milk. But what if it's a large amount, covering 150 square feet? I read the ingredients on a milk carton: riboflavin, phosphorus, vitamins A and B12, potassium, magnesium, zinc, iodine. Not the kinds of ingredients I can do much with now in a cathartic poem. I didn't especially like science in high school and didn't always follow instructions for experiments in chemistry class. I was more interested in producing magic. Alan didn't literally say he prefers a garden plot over me, but perhaps he has spent too many hours a day with a microscope in a lab for someone like me, stretched across the elements, earth, fire, water, air, spirit, traveling twice a year to Lithuania, visiting the lakes and forests of my ancestors, dancing and singing in a group on the Witch's Hill and Jean Crante. He did say he enjoys long hikes in the mountains and has a passion for anthropology and indigenous cultures. Lithuania is an indigenous culture, as it is ancient, over 4,000 years old. We talk about a writing collaboration, agree to discuss positive and negative connotations of milk. I imagine exchanging milk through a mouse. I want to include my personal history with milk, my child experience of the milkman and milk delivered in a glass bottle, and not being allowed to drink this cream on top, and now consuming more cream. The fun of stirring strawberry quick into milk and watching it turn pink. He says he has no personal experiences to share. I want to write about famous paintings with milk. The milkmaid, a robust woman with full hips and a vibrant blue apron, and a red skirt with a small foot warmer, and next to it, a Delft tile depicting Cupid. Alan prefers a painting of a man with his sleeves up, sitting down with a pail near a cow's udder, squeezing her teats. Are these images so far apart? We agree on a section in our paper about breast milk and problems with breastfeeding, and I use the medical phrase, a plugged milk duct. Are we so far apart? I imagine us in a couple, visualize milk explosions, milk baths, milky moisturizer. He said he wanted to make me a cocktail at his house. I fantasize about a romantic getaway to a fictive soy milk falls. He said last week he wanted to go to a hot spring. Now I see Alan might worry about angering an ascetic milk god, argue that I'm spending too much money on ice cream and milk bath bombs and taking too many milk baths. But we both like the topic of breast self-care and self-examination, though he prefers adding breast medical images, and I want floral breast watercolors.
Thank you, Andrea. So that if we have come to the end of our reading, if everybody would unmute and say that we love you.
We
Love you.
Love you.
Love everybody.
Love
Love
you.
We love you. I love
Claire, you're still
you.
muted.
I love you.
I love
I
you.
love you. I
Yes,
love you
you.
all.
Yeah,
Love to.
Oh,
So
you are all
anyway,
worthy of love.
I facilitate the Writing Resilience Workshop. If you'd like to join us, we're starting in March. On March 9th and 10th, we have Saturday and Sunday sessions. So I hope you will join us. Now we will again tell you that we love you.
We love you.
We love
We love
you.
you.
We
Happy
love you. I love
Valentine's
you.
Day.
We love
you.
Love you.
Wonderful. You love you.
It's an honor to be in this group with you, Larissa.
It's an honor to have you, Audrey.
it is.
It
And I
is
miss those of
amazing.
you not in the group on Saturday.
It's all magic.
Have a wonderful
Sure
party,
is.
you Alaska nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday, Sandra,
Sandy.
again.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Thank you so much.
Happy
Cynthia will be
birthday.
here. We have about 14 people coming, and we'll be reading love poems.
All right.
All right.
Will there be zucchini bread?
No.
Okay.
Or even just
I don't
zucchini.
read that near home, I don't
Gotcha.
read that where people know
Zucchini
me.
bread with special sauce.
Right.
I don't think I can